these things, but we need to have a group of people that get together and push it along, right? Me as a city employee wasn't able to get our proposal approved, which is interestingly enough, but it's about 380 million gallons a year that they're using for their 119 acres of turf at Mission Bay. So that's a lot of water. Should we do questions? Do you guys want to talk?
Let me finish
yes,
one
please.
last real quick statement here, and I do respect the time. But this system is very economically viable. Each of these products is not only a product that we can sell to the open market, but it's also a product that regenerates something for another part of the system. For example, the plants that we're farming here are used for feed for the shrimp and fish that are in here, and there's about 27 subloops of products that are produced by this itself, and they say plus we can sell it in the open market, which in Africa we were selling it to the European Union. The salicornia was used as a feed for human consumption. It's a gourmet delicacy, it's delicious, but also for multiple other uses. For fuel, we crushed it and use it for fuel, for even for biodiesel for airplanes to drop in jet fuel, many other things. And again, what's nice is it always happens, we do it on land that is unarable for anything else, so you're not competing with other human food source and resources. Yeah. So thank you very much. You'll learn more about this on the 17th. Come and see me.
Please,
Yes.
I'm not going to be able to attend that. When you just said 27
subloops. They're feeding cycles that
so it's products that become inputs for other parts of the system. Yeah.
And that's an important concept. Let me just mention that. And I do want to give these guys a chance to talk too, just quickly. But Ages Inc., that's what we're trying to do with the entire structure of our organization, is have those feed loop cycles where energy feeds. A lot of these companies, they have 3 or 4 different complementary benefits to the next product.
Yeah.
So those feed cycles and those self-circulating feed cycles are really important. Carrie, do you want to talk about your company at all, or?
Sure, I'll speak briefly how I think this kind of all pulls together.
Yeah.
So,
No.
I'm the executive director of the EcoMedia Compass, and we've been focusing on Salton Sea strongly for about 4 years. It's an area that has a tremendous amount of potential, but needs a lot of help and money and water really quickly. Otherwise, we could face one of the largest environmental disasters maybe in our hemisphere. And that's something that is just almost unimaginable next to somewhere that has so many people in Southern California, one of the richest areas in the world. So I think it's immensely important to be using technologies like what we've been discussing today. So we've been doing a lot of different large events throughout Salton Sea area and Southern California, bringing people together to learn about these technologies and to network and bring together over different creative media outlets such as music, art, documentaries, different types of media that share these technologies with the world and get people acting. We work with different schools, and we have an office in Salton City where we help produce a lot of different positive and educational media about the Salton Sea and about these kind of technologies that will hopefully really pick up their presence there.
And the education component is most important, is educating people on issues as well as potential solutions. It's really devastating right now that our media has only focused on environmental degradation as opposed to not only the solutions, right? Shouldn't it be hand in hand where there's a problem and there's a potential solution that is coupled with it?
Exactly. If all we learn about is the problems, that's all we know, and that's just what we're going to perpetuate. And so we need to be learning about these things that are going to be fixing the systems instead.
Right. Yeah.
So we've done different events, tech and solution showcases, even concerts where we bring together different kind of musical acts, because people will watch a music video that has 30 million views. If we can get 30 million people to look at some kind of science, we're saved.
And if you can get 30 million people to donate $1, now you have a resource.
That'd be nice too.
Right? Or how many people are in the United States, right? 380 million people, something like that. If you can get $1 from everybody to fix the environmental degradation, that's a huge coffer. Also in the back, David Forney, he's a MIT graduate and one of our partners as well, and he focuses a lot on algae cultivation and has written several papers on that. So thanks for coming, David. Yes?
What are the main challenges that you've seen to actually implementing things at the Salton Sea? Like, is it money, or is there other?
There's a few things. Money is definitely a big one. No one's wanting to fork up the $3 to $10 billion it'll take to fix the Salton Sea in the long run. But there's also quite a few different agencies that aren't necessarily getting along very well, and it would probably be a good idea to step it up to a high state or federal level to actually just push things aside and get things done, because there's a lot of groups that have a lot of say in the area from a governmental perspective that have their hands in a lot of different baskets and their heads in too many directions, and they just haven't honestly been able to get nearly as much done. Right now, the big irrigation company, Imperial Irrigation, is actively working on some wetlands projects, some power generation projects, but they just last week introduced a big plan for their fix for the Salton Sea, asking for $3 billion from different state agencies, and it's going to fix a couple thousand acres, well, maybe 1,500 acres of wetlands max. And in order to maintain the Pacific Flyway, I'm thinking it's about 45,000 acres that we need. So we could see, without these technologies stepping up really quickly or rapidly moving on, pushing water to come down from the Sea of Cortez or San Diego, the loss of major habitats for over 425 bird species, millions of fish, and habitat loss for people that live all around it as well, and our crops.
Yeah, for sure. And the politics, it's been studied at the federal level for 40 years. It's been at the state level, at the Salton Sea Authority level for 15 years. That being said, they are actively pursuing items, but when you have a system that is of urgent concern like this, and you haven't been able to get a shovel in the ground in 15 years, you really have to step up how you're gonna finance it. That's the biggest component, is the financing mechanism, right? For us, we're really interested in energy generation as the component that can reinvest.
It can pay for itself to be fixed.
Right, it can pay for itself to be fixed
in so many different ways.
It can treat the water, it can be the resource that then feeds itself. And the habitat restoration is really important.
I think that's one of the things that, one of the things that Carrie was saying about being on the flyway. In Africa, we did a pre-measurement of 21 species of birds, and after we built our productive wetland, we had 226 species we're stopping there. So it really works. It makes a huge difference.
It's productive habitat, which is really important.
Yeah.
Do we have any questions? I was hoping that we would have like a general discussion back and forth with everybody here, because I know everybody has really
Can
interesting.
I finish with one little thing?
If you'd like to.
Well, I mean, with my little bit of background. With the Salton Sea, we're at a point where we need to be extremely loud to get everything done. We need to be sending letters. We need to be effectively yelling that where a lot of people are going to get sick, a lot of animals are going to die unless we all really step it up. We're working on different things that try to step outside the box from a media perspective. We just had a Salton Sea walk where a gentleman walked all the way around the Salton Sea, got a lot of the newspapers across the country looking at it, and our next plan is a sea-to-sea walk. So we're going to walk from the Sea of Cortez to the Salton Sea, sharing these technologies and getting the entire country to look at different water resources, i.e. the ocean. So that's our next plan. That'll be October of 2016.
So bring your shovels.
Awareness and education. And at the finish line of the week-long walk, I'm going to ask everyone to bring a shovel.
Right.
And I don't care if we don't have permits, just start digging and see if someone will stop you. So that's what we do. We're at saveoursea.info, and thank you. If you have any other questions specifically about the Salton Sea, I could probably help.
Yeah.
You do realize that from a practical standpoint, this is where a lot of these programs and a lot of these systems come face to face with real world realities in engineering. It would take you 15 to 20 years to dig any kind of piping system from the Sea of Cortez or from the coast into the Salton Sea. That's practical reality.
Sure.
Well, not only that, from the Sea of Cortez, you got to go through Mexico.
That's true. The biggest roadblocks, it's interesting. Why are we talking about at a national level to build a pipeline from Canada to the Gulf of Mexico, and it's completely feasible, and I'm sure that if that were approved, that would be built in probably 5 years, right? It's just a matter of priorities.
Well,
Where are the...
The elevation, you're talking about.
Yeah, but say
90
coming down the midsection of the country is all flat, plus you're going to go in already existing.
Salton Sea is going
pipe-
230 feet downhill.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
You
gotta
can
go
also
uphill.
pump it into Laguna Salada, which is an area that acts as an extra reservoir. You can create power going downhill.
And there's already existing rivers and canals.
The Coyote Canal.
We
is
actually
already-
had-
But you're going
Congressman
to,
Jim
you're going to
Bates.
pollute those rivers and canals with seawater.
I told Jim Bates about it, yeah.
We actually had a conversation, and we actually came up with a plan for using our water treatment units, cogen with Sunrise Power Lake. And I actually don't mind the thing from the Sierra Cortez down, it's doable, but like saying, that is a massive project. It's different running a pipeline through Illinois than it is running it through those elevations. Plus, at the same time, when you see the elevation of the Salton Sea,
Well, it's
you
down.
know, I don't understand your
It's
elevations
easier.
on your water park here. When you throw your water park here, if you're telling me that the Salton Sea drains 5 feet every year, how are you gonna maintain the elevations to keep the water going in and out without pumps?
Well, you
Oh,
can
you-
have pumps.
you do
You have
pump it.
solar panel pumps.
Yeah.
right?
You have pumps.
Solar
you
panels,
generate-
pumping water is one of the most power-intensive
Consuming-
things you can do.
A pump, solar panel,
Yeah.
not power
Very,
pump.
very well aware of
Yeah.
that. We were using electric power and actually biodiesel from the Salicornia.
You'd have to use diesel. about
Diesel pumps.
Well, that makes an interesting point. It's part of the same feed loop. And we didn't want to get off topic with the pipeline because it's such an overarching issue. It just really, you need one to then showcase all the other systems and how they're mutually beneficial, right? Like we could talk about that to death and it would take 10 years, 20 years to get done. But is there a profit margin to it? Is it not just a loss, a cost?
And the property value in that area. There's 100 miles of coastline. Right now, you can go buy, a quarter acre for a couple $1,000s. If that water quality is fixed up in the long run, that's a great thing for